She pointed her finger right at him. Security! That boy just shoved something in his hoodie! Every eye in the store turned. A teenage boy, black, about 16, froze in the candy aisle, clutching a bag of Skittles and his phone. No hoodie. No backpack. Nothing hidden. Just confusion. And fear. The woman yelling? Mid-50s, manicured, pearls and all. She had the haircut. The tone. The entitlement. A Karen in full form. He stammered. Ma'am, I didn't. Don't you lie to me, she barked. I saw you. I know your type. You people think you can just take what you want. The store went dead quiet. An older man by the registers clenched his fists. A cashier looked down, trying to pretend she didn't hear. A young couple exchanged uneasy glances. But no one moved. No one said a word. Except her. Karen stormed toward him, phone out, recording. I've got you now, she sneered. Let's see what your mother has to say when mall security hauls you away. Or maybe you don't have a mother. The boy's hands shook. A small red security tag sat on the candy he'd picked up. He hadn't even opened it. It was still sealed. Still unpaid for. But that didn't matter. He was black. He was alone. And to Karen, that was enough. The boy turned to leave, but she stepped in front of him. Oh no, you don't. You're not going anywhere. That's when a voice cut through the air. Calm. Cool. Dangerous. He's not going anywhere. But you might want to sit down. Karen spun around. A woman in a sleek blue blazer stood at the end of the aisle. Early 30s. Sharp eyes. Sharp jawline. She wasn't smiling. Karen scoffed. Excuse me? Who are you? The woman didn't blink. Didn't flinch. She just walked forward, slowly, like a storm rolling in. The boy looked up. Relief bloomed across his face. Ava. Karen's brows furrowed. Who the hell is Ava? The woman stopped just a few feet away. And finally she smiled. His sister. Karen rolled her eyes. Well, maybe you can teach him not to steal. I caught him red-handed. No, you didn't, Ava interrupted. You assumed. And you humiliated a minor. In public. For doing absolutely nothing wrong. Karen scoffed again, louder this time. Are you threatening me? Ava stepped closer. No. But the district attorney might have something to say. Silence. Then, wait, what? Ava reached into her purse, pulled out a black leather case, and flipped it open. The ace badge. Right there. Clear as day. Someone gasped. A kid at the back whispered. Whoa. The cashier who'd looked away. Her eyes snapped back. Karen took a step back. You're lying. Ava didn't even blink. Try me. The boy finally found his voice. Can we go? Ava nodded. Yes, Jay. We can. She turned to Karen one last time. Her voice dropped. You'll want to stay right here. Security will want your version of the story too. And trust me, you're going to want to get it exactly right. Karen's lips parted, but nothing came out. And as Ava and her brother walked away, heads held high, the entire store seemed to exhale. One woman's prejudice. One boy's fear. And one sister's power, used exactly when it mattered most. But this was just the beginning. Because Karen didn't just stop there. She made it worse. So much worse. It was supposed to be a normal Saturday afternoon. Jay had just finished his volunteer shift at the local youth center, a place he loved, where he helped younger kids with reading, art, and sometimes just listened to them talk about their day. He was a good kid. Smart, kind, a little shy. His sister Ava always said he had old soul energy. He didn't party. Didn't skip school. Didn't even like loud music. The kind of kid who asked permission to stay out past 9. But that day, Ava had been stuck in court. Her caseload had exploded with a gang-related trial, and she hadn't been able to pick him up. So Jay took the bus. No big deal. He stopped at the mall to grab a snack and wait out the drizzle. That's all it was. Just a 15-minute wait at a candy store. Nothing about him stood out. No saga pants. No hoodie. Just jeans, a school t-shirt, and earbuds tucked around his neck. But none of that mattered to Karen. She had been standing near the registers when Jay walked in. She gave him a look, one of those looks. The kind black teenagers know too well. The kind that makes your stomach twist. Jay ignored it. He dealt with looks like that before. But this time, she didn't stop at staring. She hovered near him. Circled the aisles. Watched his every move. And when he picked up a bag of candy? She didn't ask questions. She didn't go to the cashier. She just went straight for the accusation. That's when everything changed. The store manager was young, barely out of high school, and she didn't know what to do. She'd seen the whole thing, but Karen was loud, aggressive, and already threatening to call mall security. The teen boy froze. The Karen screamed. The crowd grew tense. And somewhere, across the mall, Ava got the call. It wasn't Jay who called her. He didn't have time. It was another parent, a mom from the youth center, who happened to be walking by and saw what was happening. Ava didn't wait. She ran. She didn't need details. She knew that if Karen was involved and Jay was alone, she needed to move now. And that's how she showed up just in time. But here's what most people didn't know. This mall? It had a reputation. Not official, not in writing, but known. Security guards had been called more than once on kids who looked suspicious, but turned out to be completely innocent. Ava had actually handled a case like that just last year. A Latino boy wrongfully detained for shoplifting a pack of gum, one he'd actually already paid for. So when she saw the scene unfold, she didn't just see her brother. She saw a pattern. A system. And she was done letting it slide. Jay didn't speak much on the ride home. He sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window, clutching the unopened Skittles bag. Ava's badge lay quietly on the dashboard, its gold glint catching flashes of sunlight between raindrops. "I didn't even open it," he finally said. "I know," she replied. Silence. Then Jay whispered, "She said I didn't have a mom." Ava gripped the steering wheel tighter. "You have me," she said, her voice low but steady. "And you're never alone. Ever." But what neither of them expected. Karen wasn't done. Because later that night, she made a phone call. To the mall's corporate office. Claiming she was harassed by a woman impersonating a DA. And that's when things got really serious. Because Ava didn't just have to defend her brother anymore. Now she had to defend herself. And what Karen didn't know? Ava had everything on her side. The phone call came in early Sunday morning. Ava was just sipping her coffee when her office line rang. She wasn't scheduled that day, but her job didn't really believe in days off, not when you were the youngest district attorney in county history, and especially not when you were a black woman in power. She answered, expecting a routine case update. It wasn't. "Ms. Brooks?" the voice said, tight and formal. "We received a report about a potential impersonation incident involving you. Something that allegedly occurred at Valley Creek Mall yesterday." Ava's heart stopped. The voice belonged to Mallcorp Legal Affairs. Karen had filed a complaint. She claimed Ava had flashed a fake badge to intimidate her. Said Ava threatened her in public. That she had scared her children. Ava didn't remember seeing any kids. Karen even alleged Ava tried to cover for a known shoplifter. A young thug, she called him in the written statement. Ava's jaw tightened. Karen wasn't just doubling down. She was escalating. And in the kind of world they lived in, lies like that stuck. Especially when they came wrapped in fake tears and phrases like, "I feared for my safety." But Ava wasn't new to this game. She asked one question. "Did your office pull the security footage?" The woman on the other end hesitated. "Not yet." Ava smiled without humor. "Then I suggest you do. Because if this complaint isn't dropped immediately, I'll be pursuing a defamation case. And you can tell Ms. Karen Mitchell that filing a false report about a public official is a felony in this state. Click. She didn't wait for a call back. Instead, Ava drove straight to the mall. Jay didn't want to come. He said he was tired. Embarrassed. But Ava insisted. This is your story too, she said. You deserve to see how it ends. When they arrived, the energy was different. The young manager from the day before was waiting. She looked nervous, apologetic, but this time, she spoke up. I reviewed the footage, she said. You were right. He didn't do anything wrong. She was watching him the whole time. You didn't threaten her. You handled it, calmly. Ava nodded. That's all I needed to hear. But before they could leave, a security officer walked up. He had something in his hand, a printed report. Karen had called them, too. And not just to complain. She wanted Jay banned from the premises. I can't believe this, Jay muttered. I didn't do anything. No, Ava said. You didn't. And now? I am going to do something. She took the report. Read it. Memorized every false line. Then handed the officer her business card. You'll want to attach this to the file, she said coldly. Because I'm initiating a formal investigation into racial profiling and harassment. And I'll be subpoenaing all footage from the past 30 days. The security guard blinked. You're serious? Ava leaned in. Dead serious. And then, like clockwork, Karen appeared. Walking out of a nearby boutique, holding 3 shopping bags like nothing had happened. Her face paled the moment she saw Ava and Jay. You, she started. Ava didn't flinch. Jay, though, took a step back. The anxiety returned. He remembered her voice. Her finger. The crowd watching. But not this time. Not again. Ava stepped between them. You filed a false report, she said. You tried to weaponize your voice. Your race. Your privilege. And you picked the wrong family. Karen's mouth opened, but Ava kept going. There's surveillance. Witnesses. And now? A legal trail. Karen's voice wavered. I didn't mean to. Yes, you did. Ava cut in. And that's the problem. Jay stared. It was the first time he'd ever seen his sister like this, unshakable. Not the big sister who made grilled cheese and reminded him to do his homework. But the DA. The lioness. Karen tried to play it off. I just thought he looked suspicious. Ava didn't blink. You thought wrong. And this time, the manager stepped forward. We're revoking your mall privileges, ma'am, she said. Effective immediately. And you'll be hearing from corporate. Karen's eyes darted. This is insane. You're siding with them? The manager didn't answer. But the security guard did. He held up the printed report. We're not siding with anyone. We're following the law. Maybe you should try it sometime. Karen's face crumpled. For the first time, she looked small. Jay exhaled. Ava turned to him. Let's go. And as they walked away, this time for good, Karen stood frozen in place. Red-faced. Alone. And finally, silent. But Ava wasn't done. Because this wasn't just about her brother anymore. It was about every kid like him. And every Karen who thought they could get away with it. Monday morning hit like thunder. While most people were just pouring coffee or scrolling their phones, Ava Brooks was already in her office, reviewing legal precedent, typing at lightning speed, voice sharp as the heels on her courtroom shoes. This wasn't just personal anymore. This was systemic. And Ava was done being polite. She filed an official civil rights complaint against Valley Creek Mall and the Mitchell woman, full name, Karen Elizabeth Mitchell, for false accusation, harassment of a minor, and attempted defamation of a public official. She looped in the state's Civil Liberties Union. Sent footage to the press. Filed copies of everything with the city council and the mayor's liaison. She didn't need to explain why this mattered. The video spoke for itself. Jay. holding Skittles, looking terrified. Karen, pointing, screaming, and then Ava, calm, collected, showing her badge. Everything on tape. From 2 angles. And just like that, the silence shattered. First came the internal memo from the mall's corporate legal team. Then the calls. Then the headlines. Local DA challenges racial profiling at Valley Creek Mall. Black teen harassed while shopping, DA's sister responds. Caught on camera, what happens when power meets prejudice? Suddenly, people were paying attention. And not just the press. The mayor's office reached out. So did the State Bar Association. Even the mall's PR director tried to set up a friendly sit-down. But Ava wasn't interested in optics. She wanted accountability. Because Karen didn't just hurt Jay. She weaponized the stereotype, the dangerous idea that a black boy standing alone is always a threat. That he must be stealing. That his silence equals guilt. And this time? She got caught. In the middle of the chaos, Ava received an unexpected email. From a mother in another town. My son was accused at that same mall 2 months ago. Said he looked suspicious because he was lingering. He was waiting for me to pick him up. Nothing came of it. But thank you. Thank you for speaking up. Then another. I work there. I've seen security called on kids for no reason too many times. I never knew what to do. But now, maybe things can change. The floodgates opened. Ava didn't even need to look for stories. They came to her. And suddenly, it wasn't just about Jay. Or her. It was about them. All of them. By Wednesday, Karen was trending on local Twitter. People recognized her from the video. Someone even dug up old footage from a school board meeting where she'd gone off on a janitor for not speaking English clearly. The dots started connecting. This wasn't her first time. It just happened to be the first time she got caught in front of the wrong woman. But Ava wasn't done. She knew how these things went. People screamed. Then forgot. Justice faded. Not this time. So she made a move. She called a press conference. Set up a podium outside the courthouse, with Jay standing quietly to her left and a dozen community members behind her. She didn't yell. Didn't perform. She just told the truth. This isn't about one woman. This is about how quickly we assume guilt based on skin color. How easy it is to believe the worst in someone who never got the chance to speak. My brother did nothing wrong. But he was made to feel like a criminal. In public. At 16. She paused. Looked at Jay. And I'm proud to say, he is stronger than anyone should have to be at his age. Then she turned back to the cameras. This case is moving forward. Because if we stay quiet, it'll happen again. And the next time? Maybe there's no sister nearby. No badge. No footage. Just fear. And silence. That night, the video went viral. Not just because of the drama, but because of the truth in Ava's voice. She wasn't just defending her brother. She was defending everyone who'd ever been followed, questioned, or accused, just for being who they were. And Karen? She tried to fight back. She hired a lawyer. Claimed emotional distress. Said she felt threatened by the online backlash. But the footage didn't lie. And neither did Ava. And now? The courtroom was calling. Because this time, justice wasn't just a dream. It had a name. And it was coming for her. The courtroom was packed. Not with press. Not with cameras. But with people. Neighbors. Teachers. Clerks. Even kids from the youth center where Jay volunteered. They showed up, quietly, respectfully, but with intent. Every seat filled. Every eye locked forward. Karen sat at the defendant's table, pale and stiff, her expensive lawyer whispering fast into her ear. She wore a modest dress this time, hair tied back, pearls gone. No shopping bags. No finger pointing. Just silence. The case wasn't criminal, yet, but Ava made sure it was civilly bulletproof. Harassment of a minor. false public accusation, attempted defamation of a government official, and, most importantly, racial discrimination. Karen's defense tried everything. Claimed she was concerned for safety. Said she misinterpreted the boy's behavior. Claimed she felt threatened by Ava's badge. But then the footage rolled. Clear. Undeniable. Jay standing still. Holding candy. Not hiding anything. Not stealing. Karen pointing. Screaming. Accusing. Loud enough to stop the store. Ava, walking in. Calm. Professional. Never raised her voice. The judge leaned forward. Ms. Mitchell, can you explain why you assumed this boy was stealing? Karen stammered. He was just standing there. Looking around. It seemed suspicious. The judge's brow lifted. Looking around, in a store? A few people in the gallery snorted quietly. Karen's lawyer quickly objected, but the damage was done. Then came the witness statements. The store manager. A bystander. A second employee who had been restocking gum near the back wall. All said the same thing: Jay never stole anything. Karen was the only one who saw a crime. And now, she was the only one being held accountable for one. Ava didn't take the stand. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough. Jay, however, did speak. His voice shook a little, but he stood tall. I didn't even say anything that day. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I just froze. Because I knew if I made one wrong move, I'd become the story. And that's not fair. The courtroom went silent. Then the judge spoke. In a world where fear and prejudice too often define first impressions, this case is not just about what happened, it's about how we respond. This court finds in favor of the plaintiff. Karen flinched. The judgment? $85,000 in damages. Mandatory anti-bias training. And a formal public apology, written and delivered within 30 days, or face contempt of court. But money wasn't the real sentence. Reputation was. Because by the time court adjourned, Karen's name was already on blogs, news reports, and community boards. Parents were sharing her photo with captions like, "This is what profiling looks like." The boutique she loved shopping at? Banned her. Her homeowners association? Voted to remove her from the board. Her own daughter, college-aged, posted a quiet note online. To anyone hurt by my mother's actions, I'm sorry. She didn't speak for me. And Ava? She didn't gloat. Didn't smile in victory. She just placed a hand on Jay's shoulder as they walked out. He looked up at her. Does this mean it's over? Ava nodded. This part? Yes. He thought for a moment. Will it happen again? To someone else? Ava exhaled. Probably. But maybe not today. Not at this mall. And not while people are watching. Outside the courthouse, the air felt lighter. Warm. Not perfect. Not justice for all. But justice for this. And that mattered. It had been 3 weeks since the ruling. The mall was quieter now. Not in traffic, but in tension. Signs had gone up near every entrance. This is a zero-tolerance zone for profiling, harassment, or discrimination. Offenders will be removed immediately. Jay saw them when he walked past on his way to the youth center. He didn't go inside anymore. Not because he was afraid. But because he didn't need to. He had something better now. A story. Not the kind whispered with shame or hidden in anger. But the kind that taught. That warned. That gave strength. He was no longer the boy frozen in the candy aisle. He was the kid who stood his ground, quietly, and watched his sister turn an accusation into action. The youth center even asked him to speak. They held a Voices of Justice night for local teens. Jay was the youngest on the panel. But when he told his story, people listened. He kept it simple. I didn't steal anything. I was just there. But that woman saw someone she decided didn't belong. My sister? She made sure I did. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. Not because it was dramatic, but because it was true. And for once, the truth didn't get buried. Ava watched all of this from the sidelines. She didn't chase interviews. Didn't post videos. She just kept showing up, at court, in her community, beside her brother. But something had changed. People started calling her the DA from the video. Kids pointed at her in grocery stores like she was a superhero. One even ran up and whispered, "You're the lady who made that racist lady cry, right?" She didn't smile at that. Because it was never about revenge. It was about restoring dignity. About saying, you don't get to ruin someone just because you're louder. Or whiter. Or more comfortable. Karen, meanwhile, had disappeared from public view. Her apology came on day 29, typed, emotionless, emailed through her lawyer. Ava read it once and filed it away. Jay never even opened it. It was never about the words. It was about the lesson. And Karen? She'd learned hers. Whether she admitted it or not. Because the next time she looked at a kid like Jay, she'd think twice. And maybe, just maybe, she'd stay silent. One night, as summer broke through spring, Ava and Jay sat outside their apartment building on the steps. The sun had dipped, but the air was still warm, buzzing with crickets and laughter from kids down the street. Jay leaned back, staring at the sky. "Do you ever wish none of it happened?" he asked. Ava thought for a long moment. "Sometimes," she said. "I wish you never had to go through that." She paused. "But then I remember how many people saw it, heard it, and finally, believed it. Maybe that part needed to happen." Jay nodded slowly. Then smiled. "Next time someone says I look suspicious, I'll just tell them my sister's the district attorney." Ava laughed for the first time in days. "Only if you want to scare them." He grinned. "Oh, I do." They sat in silence after that. Not heavy. Not broken. Just still. And sometimes, that's what justice looks like. Not loud. Not final. Just still. And finally, free.